Hello, and welcome to the Gnostic Warrior radio show and podcast, broadcasting from GnosticWarrior.com in San Diego, California, to around the world. I'm your host, Mo, and today on the show we have author Admir Serrano. Admir is the author of a new book titled The End of Death, How Near-Death Experiences Prove the Afterlife. This is a great podcast where we talk about reincarnation, things like what happens after death, and he explains some of the scientific facts that he's gathered from his own life and then interviewing others who have had near-death experiences. But before we get into this great show, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
For a great mobile website by expert web designers, visit WeCreateWebDesigns.com. Get your website now for only $79 at WeCreateWebDesigns.com.
And now it's time for the Gnostic Warrior radio show and podcast. How you doing today, Admir?
I'm doing great, Mo, and I thank you very much for allowing me to participate in your show. And it's going to be a pleasure to be here sharing this work that I do to show that we are immortal beings and that life goes on, and it is a wonderful experience.
You're most welcome, Admir, and it's a pleasure to have you on. This is a subject that's dear to my heart and soul, and something I've studied and researched for the past few years. So it's great to have someone on that's actually written a book and has done a ton of research into the subject of life after death. In your book, we'll talk about in the show, The End of Death, How Near-Death Experiences Prove the Afterlife. But before we get into the great work you're doing now, can you educate us briefly on your background up until the current time?
I'm from Brazil. I was born in Brazil and lived for many years there, and then I came to the United States a few years, in 1982 actually, when I moved up here, and I've been living here since. And I have been, I've done many things in my life, because life in Brazil, you need to work, at an early age, most of the time, especially when you are, when you are in great need of money, so you need to help your family and stuff. So and then at one point in my life, I had been in this search. What is it that means to be here? Who am I? All those questions that everybody asks once in a while. And then at one point, I started then learning that I grew up as a Catholic, and which is most of Brazilians are Catholic. So that was my religious background. But there is a point that you have a lot of questions, and then you go on your journey to find out what else is there. And things, I think, when we are in a journey and we are determined to find our way here in this life, which is a wonderful, great experience, then things are put together on your way. So I end up studying philosophy, religion, and then at one point a few years ago, about a decade ago, I started educating myself for my own physical death when the time came. I didn't know much about it back then, about 13, 14 years ago. So I started researching everything that I could about life after death, and then also scientific researches and so forth. And then at one point I started having out-of-body experiences, and then there I got even more interested, and I got even more into this search. And then after 10 years, and I just when I learned that, I started writing. So I wrote my first 3 books in Portuguese, and then lately I've been writing in English. So that's how The End of Death came about.
That was one of my questions, what inspired you to write your book. So it was your own experiences that you had, out-of-body experiences, that you started questioning what happens after death. That culminated into research and then writing books there in Brazil. Are these the same books that you're writing here in English now in the States?
They're different books. I did write one with near-death experience, but not as complete as I did at The End of Death.
Where did you get your information about death and dying to write your book?
Well, first, I follow a religion that we call Spiritism. It's a big religion in Brazil, and we work with mediums, and there's a lot of mediumship, and we do a lot of there's a lot of spirit communication and so forth. So from my religion, I learn and I teach. I'm one of the teachers that life goes on. But the main thing, and also my deathbed visions, for instance. Then I started also working as a volunteer in hospice and noticing people who are approaching death and some phenomenon that happens to them. So that's how I started. And then here in the United States, there's this huge volume of literature that you can buy. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, for instance, was one of them. And so I started just looking for information, and I started finding all this information. Then my own out-of-body experiences, and then for near death, I started talking to people about it, and then people told me that they had experiences. So I started investigating them and interviewing them, those people, and in that way, with my own interviews and my and the research I done, I put the book together.
So it was more of, instead of just your experience, a scientific approach where, of course, you're a subject in this study, and then your friends and people you have met that had similar stories you compiled into a book.
That's right, yeah. That's correct. And I also insert a little bit of out-of-body experiences, because all this out-of-body experiences, near-death experience, deathbed visions, after-death communication, mediumship, reincarnation. The United States, here, universities here, they're doing such a tremendous work on researching all these topics. That is wonderful. We have, you can imagine how vast the literature is, and I joke with my friends when they say, what are you doing, what are you researching, and I tell them that I'm doing my best to study as much as I can, but there's more literature, more volume, more work written and done than we have time to study in this lifetime. So we need another one to return and continue.
Yeah, that's I like that you say that, and I'm getting to learn a little bit about your theories and your point of view, which are very similar to mine. Plato and a lot of the philosophers back in the ancient days had said that things like deja vu is actually real memory of events that took place in a past life. His followers and Pythagoras around 500 BC, they actually said learning is knowledge that is recalled.
Recalled, yeah.
Yes.
That's right, exactly, because they started back then. And as a matter of fact, it was reading Plato, Phaedo, The Last Day of Socrates, that inspired me to do my research, my work, in order to prepare for my own physical death. Because when I was reading Socrates and all the peacefulness and the acceptance that he demonstrated when he was in prison awaiting execution, I thought that was so marvelous. I thought that was so incredible for a person to feel like that, when the person know that in a few hours or in a couple of days, they're not going to be in this world anymore. So I thought, man, I want to do this. And how do I learn to attain this peacefulness, this acceptance? And that was, Plato had a great influence in this work of mine, especially Phaedo. And then I just started looking for other literature, other books, and then to see death very close, I volunteered as a hospice volunteer to be with people who were dying. And then I started having the out-of-body experience, as I mentioned, and everything came very clear. The indirect knowledge from literature, from hearing people, and my direct knowledge from having the out-of-body experience, where I experienced the part of life, how it is in the spirit world, how it is to live when we're no longer in physical life.
It's interesting you bring up Socrates, because I know it's well known and it's been written. He had said he had a daemon, they had called it back in ancient Greece. I know that you probably know the same research as I do, Admir, is back then a demon or a daemon wasn't bad. Of course, there was bad demons and good demons, just like now in Christian religions and other Judaic religions, there's good angels and bad angels. So it's interesting that he's said to have his own demon that he would consult with. What are your thoughts on angels and demons?
Well, from my perspective, from what we learn in my religion and what we teach in our religion, the demons and the angels, they are first. We believe that they have been that they're also, they're not a separate creatures that were created that way. They're spirits, and maybe they experienced life on Earth. Maybe they experienced life in other places and other planets. And the demons that we call the bad spirits, they are ignorant spirits who have a greater tendency to do bad things or evil than to do good things. And angels are the enlightened spirits, just like our future. They're enlightened. They learned it. They evolved, because we are all here to evolve. And some evolve in a greater extent. And some of the spirits, they stay a little bit, backwards. But at the end, they will be equal. They will be good, because the tendency in evolution, the consciousness evolution, is to make us better and not worse.
Okay, so these would be in your religion, and of course I want to go by your studies, these would be the unseen world, these entities that some people call demons and angels or spirits. They could be good or bad. They could also influence us here in the seen world.
Most definitely. Because we are like, there's another thing that people think, that the afterlife, or the location that we're going after we leave physical body, the physical body, is somewhere like in other galaxies, or there's some place. But the spirit world is a non-physical world, and it's all around us. It's not in another. It's another dimension, but within the same space that we're in now. So it's not something that is far away. And we see, like, from my research and also from my experience in mediumship, and my experience during out-of-body experiences, and my research, a lot of people who die and they don't know what's going on. Especially if they didn't believe in life after death. They don't know where to go, so they stay in their own place. They stay home. And when we call, these haunted places, they're haunted because the spirits who were living there, died there, didn't know where to go, didn't know what was happening. They're there. So they're sort of, they don't know what's happening. And that happens. It's a lack of enlightenment. It's ignorance of not knowing what comes next and how the next life is.
Admir, have you found that there are people that are aware of these energies and these forces, and they use them in a dark and evil way when they're living? Because of doing that, they violate these laws that, of course, when they go into the afterlife, it's not to the light, but to the darkness, and they're tormented as well in some of these places?
Yeah, that happens, and we see it's like we are together. If you pay attention to groups of people, and you see people, they gather with people that they have what we call affinity. So people who are like-minded. So you have wise people hanging out, wise people. You have scientists hanging out with scientists, and you have your knowledge, your set of knowledge, and you have your set of friends. If you notice, your friends and your family members, they sort of have the same frame of mind that you have, like normal beliefs and things like that. You work together to make your life a better experience, and you work to make the life of your community better, so that you can all enjoy. Then you have a group of people who they hang out together, they're together, and they want to do evil. They want to break the peace and harmony of their places. So, and they're hanging together. So it's the same type of energies. And when people who have mediumship, and these people, like a bad spirit, for instance, a bad person, when he dies, it doesn't change much. We just drop our physical body, but we are what we are. And if our mind, is filled with love, that's what we're gonna have after we leave the physical body. If our minds are filled with hatred and desire for revenge and things like that, we leave the physical body, we're gonna have that same feelings, and we might still have make an effect. here in this world. And mediums, for instance, could use these bad spirits to do evil for someone, like in voodoo and things like that. We have to live on to the consequences of our actions. So, the people who are evil, if they're bad here, they're going to suffer. And at the end, they're going to learn, and suffering is not good for anybody. So they'll mend their ways. But the hatred, desire for revenge, desire to hurt people. Ultimately, who is hurt mostly is the perpetrator, the person who wants to do that, and not the person who the bad things, the bad feelings is geared towards. Do you understand?
I totally understand what you're saying, Admir, and I know there's people out there that are going to be more towards I'd say the angel part and towards the light, and then there's also some people that might be listening that have some of those traits that you had discussed and mentioned. And is there a way for them, a lot of them have been abused or certain things have happened in their lives and they feel like this is just who they are in their course because of their family, or they had a family member that abused them or molested them, and they're continuing the cycle of abuse. Is there a way for these people to turn it around in this life, make amends, change, and go towards the light and towards goodness before they die?
Most definitely. And that should be the challenge of each one of us. We work on our own evolution. Each of us work on our own evolution. So bad things that happened to people. So we choose our families. So for some reason, those souls chose that experience for some reason. And they were, they were abused, like you said, and violated. And so there's a lot of hurt in their life. So, what we do, it's not easy, of course, because you have all that trauma that you live with. But we are here to learn to love and to forgive. So forgiveness is a big thing that we should do for our own good. And we are here to break cycles. We are here, we are here to break vicious cycles. We are here to break all these elements that cause hurt and hatred and things like that. That's our main objective. To break the cycles of evil and bring light to the world. This is the job of each one of us. It's hard. It's hard. It's not easy, especially people who go through that. But it's something that is worthwhile. It's worthwhile the effort. It's worthwhile because we are going to be the main benefited from the things that we're doing. So we be the light in the darkness. There was darkness, people who abused us, but that's something that they're going to deal with it, and it's going to hurt them. We who have been hurt, we change. We understand, we love, even we forgive, and even if it's very difficult to do, but we work on that, and we bring light to darkness for our own benefit.
I've had my own experiences during my life that I've had, some bad things that have happened to me, whether that be relationships or just life. I lived in, some tough parts of town, and I gravitated towards that negativity, and a lot of things happened that caused a deep seated of hatred inside of me, not where I was evil towards people, but I was doing bad things and getting in fights and, getting in trouble with the law, and that caused me to just boil up inside. And I know that same energy that I was doing would have caused a lot of pain more in my life and to my loved ones. And then also now, looking back, if I would have kept doing those same behaviors, I would have not went to a good place when I died. And I do believe in what you're saying in regards to evolution. We are here to work on that, to better ourselves, to love our neighbors how we want to be loved, treat them how we want to be treated, and we're not to hurt other people, and, try to make this world a better place at the same time. And we have our families, number one, to take care of. And then outside of that, we could influence other people with that love and educate them as well. May I ask you a personal question on religion?
Sure, of course.
I know the Catholic religion. I'm myself a Catholic, and you had went to a new religion, but I know Catholicism, it teaches some of these same tenets, but it's more in a way that's hidden and it's allegorical in these teachings. And when I hear Spiritism, the religion you're involved with now, it seems like it's similar to Catholicism, but without all the allegories. It's more straight teaching where anybody could understand what you're saying.
That's exactly. That's right. That's right. And we are Spiritists. We are Christians, and we follow the gospel, and we try to follow the teachings of Jesus. And because he's the main man. He's the GPS for our spiritual life. To love one another. To stop the cycle of hatred and of violence and bring light into the world. So he is the guiding light. He's our guiding light. And what different? Then we try to practice what we do, work on our own evolution, And but the difference is that we believe in the afterlife, and we believe in spiritual communication, and we believe in reincarnation. Reincarnation is one of the main pillars of our religion, because we believe that that's the way that we could explain a lot of things on earth, suffering and all that, and the God's justice. We can easily explain that by reincarnation, that we're not being punished by God for things that we're doing wrong. When we suffer, we are being punished for the wrong that we did. There's no outside forces punishing us. It is, our own act, the reaction of the way we acted that is punishing us or rewarding us. It all depends on what caused it. And I love Paul, the apostle of Christ, when he said, "Don't fool yourself. Everything that you sow, you're gonna reap. There's no way. It's cause and effect. It's a cosmic law, and we cannot escape."
In regards to heaven and hell, what have you found? Where is this destination? Where is this concept from? You had mentioned that what we do in this life and what we're doing now, if we die in that state, we basically go to that state. And I want to get a little scientific with you and see if we could talk about energies. Yeah. Is this unseen world deal with these energies that we're creating in our life, and then when this material body dissolves, that energy that we created in this temple, that the Freemasons would call Solomon's Temple, or the Holy Temple, the Christians, or so forth, is that where we go, that energy, into the spirit world or to the unseen world?
Yeah. First, when Jesus' apostle asked him where was the kingdom, he said that the kingdom of God was at hand, like heaven and stuff. Where was it? Jesus said, "It's not here. It's not there. The kingdom of God or heaven is within you." So it is us. We the way we live our lives, we can have peace of mind, our clear consciousness, or we could be suffering, depending on how we live our lives, our actions. If we're doing good, if we're doing evil. So that's what we are, and we can be at peace if we live a righteous life. Then we're mostly peaceful. But if we are involved in crimes and things that are hurting people, we're going to have a hell inside of us. And it is a lot of suffering. We're going to suffer a lot, emotional pain, psychological pain, physical pain, all that. And we're going to cause the same hurt to people around us, especially those who care for us. Then when we leave the physical body, the only thing that we're doing, we are discarding the instrument that we're using here. But what we are, all the things that we learned, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, all that goes with us. And we're going to be peaceful, and we're going to be in a place that we call it heaven if we are at peace with ourselves. But if we disincarnate, we live in physical body with all this hatred or with all this thing, we're going to make, it's going to be a hellish place. But we do congregate with like mind or like energy. So when we leave, there, people we're going to hang out with in the next world are going to be people with the same kind of energy that we have. Be it good energy if we did right, or be it bad energy if we did bad. Is it clear?
Yeah, you're perfectly clear to me, Admir, and I've actually done similar things in my life to the point where I have very few friends that I deal with right now, just because I'm so busy. And then I have my family. Then also, I've got a lot of friends online, and in that same circle of influence and those friends, there was negative energies and entities that I felt weren't conducive to where I wanted to go on my path. And my positivity and how I wanted to influence the world. So I decided to unfriend them, even though I never really met some of them, and some of them I did, but it was just what they were doing, what they were saying, how negative they were. I knew they weren't good for me, so I unfriended them. And it seems like a lot of people take offense to that, and it's amazing when that happens. But those, again, are the same people that are from the same energy in the same crowd.
Yeah, that's right. There's this, we are attracted to people who are like-minded or like-spirited. And so those who are like vibrating in the same symphony, same energy that we congregate with. And then there's sort of kind of energy or other people who, they're giving off this other kind of energy that does not match with doesn't synchronize with the kind of energy or kind of vibration that we're having. So there's a natural rejection. So, in each each one of us goes to, his own way. But those people who have like the bad energy because the way they're living their lives and it's not like us, but they like what we're doing. So there's a chance for them, obviously, as time goes on, maybe not in this life, maybe they'll need 2 or 3 more lives in order to purify that energy. And the purification that we do of this energy, how we increase this level of vibration, for instance, for us to go towards light, to live better lives, not only here on earth, but also when we live, the physical life, is to change our modes of living, is to live by love and to give up love, to go to lead a life that you're beneficial not only to your own self, but to people who you're around with, and also your community. So we're positive influence because we are co-creators of God in this great enterprise that is human life.
What are your thoughts on sexuality and people who choose to not create and maybe they choose an alternative lifestyle? They call it homosexuality and stuff like that. You had mentioned similar energies and people congregate together. And of course, in that crowd, they congregate together. I come from the school where you could do thou wilt, go ahead. And if you're a homosexual, that's your path, that's your choice. But don't push it on me. Don't push your energies on me or my children. And I'm fine with you. But once you cross those boundaries, I don't care who you are. And it doesn't matter what sexuality you are or who you are. A politician could do that to me and I'll cut you off. But my policy is that, once you do that, you cross a line, I cut you off. You're a negative entity in my life. But what does your studies and your research and your religion say about sexuality?
Yeah, first we should respect people's choice. We all have free will. And we have free will in this life. We have free will in the next life all around. So free will is something that we have, and we make those choices. And and regardless of the choice that we make, we always need to make sure and to know that whatever we do, there will be consequences that we're responsible for. Homosexuality, for instance, is it's two people of the same gender, same physical sex. Loving each other and being kind to each other in many cases, and they have a regular relationship, with the difference that instead of being different man and a woman, there are 2 guys or 2 girls, and they're sharing love. If what they're doing doesn't hurt anybody, and if it brings happiness to them, and that is fine. It's their choice, it's their path. But that, like you said, and you are perfectly right, that is something that has to be with themselves. The same way that you respect their lifestyle, their choice, they should respect yours. So we should not cross boundaries, but respect each other, regardless of sexuality, religion, everything. We need to understand people. And we need to accept everybody the way they are, including us, the way we are, with all our fallacies, with all the way we are. We our doubts, our hopes, our regrets. We're all in the same boat here on this earth, Everybody trying to evolve, and many without without any kind of direction. So they just go and see, and suffer for that. Others will have some kind of direction and end up living a easier, more peaceful life.
Yeah, so I agree with you in regards to sexuality, that even though someone might choose an alternative lifestyle that's not, heterosexual, a man with a woman, and is homosexual, they could go to the same destination together, depending on their hearts. So it's you're saying it's their heart and how they treat others, and they don't forcefully abuse others or a child or another person, and they're not vindictive and evil in their heart. It's not necessarily their sexual preference; it's their heart.
That's it, exactly. It's sharing love. Sexual needs is something that belongs to or desire belongs to the body, to the physical body. It has nothing to do with the spirit. It is something that is, we have all these hormones, we have all this energy that build up in sexual relationship as a way to release some of this energy. So it's something that belongs to our physical life, or the physical part. It has nothing to do with the spirit. Of course, it is enjoyable if you do it correctly, and if you do, with love and stuff. So and people have their own preferences, but as long as they're sharing love, as long as they're not hurting anybody, especially themselves, because the hurt that we try to cause others end up, we are the first ones that are affected first. That's what we should all understand, that if we love, the love that we give out to other people, we are the first beneficiaries of that. If the hatred that we do, the hurt that we try to cause other people, we are also the first one to feel it, and it's going to end up one time or another. It's going to manifest. It could be a disease. Manifest in a disease, could be, a nervous breakdown, or all kind of psychosis. All that, it's energy that we experience. So love is the best medicine.
Let me ask you this, Admir. This seems like something that we should all know, but I'm learning this as, I'm 42, and over the last few years I started learning a lot about this stuff and really how I should be as a human being. And growing up, I learned the opposite just by watching and going through school and living in a tough neighborhood, having alcoholic parents that didn't pay attention and really show me love through their heart. They showed me love with their, having a house and, everything else. But it seems like this world is purposely set up for us to almost experience these pains, and it's up to us to have free will to find the truth and to find love. It seems buried. It's so simple. Something that should be taught in school from kindergarten all the way up. Should be some type of prayer and pledge of allegiance to love and to everything, but we don't do that. Why is our society set up like this?
Well, it's hard to say. I think we are, especially nowadays, when you study, ancient people and stuff, there's a lot of religiosity involved in it. With Native Americans, for instance, there's this communion with nature, communion with balance and harmony, when you lived with nature. But then we have all this materialistic society, and we have all this the media flooding us with all these things to buy and all this stuff. So probably what happens is that we get so engrossed in these things, with this material desire and things that we want to, fulfill this desires that we have, this immediate gratification through material things and stuff. So we end up forgetting the spiritual side of us, So, and we're so engrossed in it, like in a trance, most likely, that we forget our spiritual nature, and that eventually it's gonna hurt us, and it's gonna hurt the entire our whole society. So that's why probably in our childhood, and then through our adolescence, we go through our young adult life and stuff. We go all through that. Then we need to reach middle age, after we suffered a lot, to stop and question what's happening to me, what is life about, and then we start this spiritual path. Eventually we'll find an answer, if not now, but one day, if not in this life, in others to come.
I had mentioned earlier that I grew up a little bit on the rough side of the tracks in a tough neighborhood and made some tough choices, and also that my parents were alcoholics, and I continued down that path myself, Admir, where I started drinking and doing drugs. I mentioned I went to jail, and I was going down that path, and I got to a point where it was just unbearable for me, and a lot of it, of course, was self-created, a lot of my own free will choices, and I tried to take my own life back in 2002 by doing a bunch of alcohol, cocaine, and then taking a bottle of Xanax. And this was when I was wanted by the law. At the time, I was out on bail, and I did it in a hotel room. I actually woke up inside of jail, a jail ward. But in any event, what does your research and experience say about suicide? What would have happened to
I have that. A few cases in my book, and suicide and overdose and those things. It's not the best thing the best choice that we should make. We do, like you said, and it's wonderful what you're sharing, what you went through and how you dealt with, and the transformation that you made, the way you changed from being like rock bottom, being in the bottom of the pit, and then you raise yourself up, and then you give up all those the addictions and everything, and then you put yourself back on the track that you're supposed to be here, looking for getting better, looking for nurturing and nourishing the spiritual side of you. You overcome all those obstacles. You see, that's how we as a spirit, we learn. I say that life on earth is like a boot camp for the soul. Mm-hmm. And so we come and we suffer, but we get better, we get strong. So what we do is we live this life. We chose to be here. We chose to be here, and we chose because we decided that it would be a good thing for us that would help us improve. So we need to live to the end, to the term of this life, and the body will die naturally when it needs to die, rather than us taking our own lives. Because especially in the cases that I mentioned in the book, there are near-death experiences, people that happened through overdose or suicide attempt. The suffering is exacerbated because we take us with us wherever we go. We cannot divorce. I joke with friends and stuff. If there is someone that we cannot get a divorce from, it's us. We carry ourselves wherever we go, and the way we are is the way we're going to be anywhere we are. So in this life or in the next. So suicide attempt, for instance, the person has a near-death experience, and it's going to experience anguish. The person is going to know that the body might have died, but the person did not die, and the problems are there, exacerbated now through by the regrets that they had, by the foolishness and the mistake that they realized they made. So it's it's worse. It's much easier to go through whatever we have to go through here, and it's passing. It lasts a time like it lasted for you, and then it ends, and then we see the light. So we got to finish this journey the way that it is meant to be finished, and we leave this earth when God wants us to.
I love how you say that, boot camp for the soul. I totally agree with you. It is sure a boot camp, definitely, and the way the powers that be, or whoever you want to call it, have set up society, it's even more like that. And they give us the free will to choose to be good or choose to be bad. And it seems like there's millions of roles or stages or plays that we could be involved with that will determine that for us. So I love the way you put it. That was great, Admir.
Uh-huh.
And if we survive, this life and everything is beautiful and bliss, where do we go? Do we go? Are we reunited with our loved ones in this
Oh,
afterlife?
that because we are this huge spiritual family, and the people that we are with, especially the people that are the closest to us, our spouses, our fathers, our parents, especially siblings, they're in this life. They are part of this huge spiritual family that we have. That we decide to reincarnate as a group in order to help each other grow. When you study deathbed visions, for instance, when you study after death communication and reincarnation, you see all that. You see, for instance, in deathbed visions, when the person is about to die, maybe like a week before, or even an hour before, or for a minute before passing, that person sees loved ones around her. Especially the ones that are very significant, the mother or the spouse, or if it's children, it's normally the grandparents, because normally the grandparents went before, or a dear uncle, they're there. And when you ask if the dying person has, is aware, aware of what's happening, and you can talk to them, they can reply, and you ask why is this person here, he'll say he's here or she is here to help me make my transition, and also to accompany me to the next life. So we're all this family, and that's why we should even love each other more and respect each other more, because we are here, and ideally we are here. We made this pact to help each other grow and evolve. So that should increase even our love and appreciation for that, especially our children.
Based on what you're saying, is that we're a part of these spiritual families. So some of us, of course, might be part of that same spiritual family that has grown over lifetimes, and some might be from a different family, but we all have the same destination and the same goals of love and happiness and having heaven in life. So that's what we have in the afterlife as well. So these spirits that surround us or might be able to communicate with us, some might call angels, some might call demons, good or bad, they could actually be from our family and spirits that respond to our energies. So if we're doing good and spreading love and possibly studying some subjects that were in our family, throughout history, we might have some of those same good spirits from that same era come visit us possibly, or surround us possibly. Is that something you've found?
Yeah, of course. And in my out-of-body experiences, for instance, not now, because now from what they told me, or my mom has been reincarnated. But before she was reincarnated, she was one of the spirits that came to help me out of to get out of my body sometimes and work. And so she was there with me before she reincarnated. And now she's, she no longer helps me with that. But before she did. And so we work together. Here we have this relationship that we call, our father or our daughter or our son or whoever. But in spiritually, we could say brothers, because we are part of this same family, the relationships that are here. And the purpose that we have, when you have someone that you love here, like your children, you do your best to raise that, to be of good company, to teach good things to that, so to help that person get better and grow, just like we do with our children. And so this relationship that we have with spirits from a spiritual family, be they out of the body, because they're no longer the physical body, in us here. So there's always this exchange. Oh yes, if you need help, like when I needed help, I asked my dad, and I know that my dad helped me many times when he was in the spirit world. And we have cases of that, angels, for instance. And when people, there's things that, a lot of things, it's fantastic, fascinating, in a situation that the person is in danger. And then, say the angels helped me. And then the word, the angels, if they saw it, the angel was a dead relative. that we think that was physically dead but is still alive. So this, we are protected. The ties of love that we have through built through the many lives with our loved ones, don't break. They're still there, just out of our sight, but around us for whenever we help them, we need them.
So it's obvious that you believe in immortality, but what about mortality? Can we humans actually cause ourselves to de-evolve to the point that we're an ash or completely, not to the light, where we don't get another chance in this world?
No, we always get another chance. Our essence, we are truly non-physical consciousness or spirits, whatever you want to call. And we live, that's our nature. For instance, we are spirits, and we have a spirit body. And this spirit body at this moment that we're living physical life is sort of enmeshed with the physical body. So we have this. When we are out of our body during an out-of-body experiences, or when we are out of body during a near-death experience, for instance, this part of us that gets away from the physical body with all its thinking ability and stuff, that is our true self. This is our body that lives independent of the physical body. So that is our essence. That is our essence. So we will continue living. The only mortal part of us is the physical body. So whatever is physical is perishable. But we as a spirit, we're not perishable. And we are always evolving. So every time that we come to Earth, we either get out of here better than when we came or the same. So we might stagnate. And like we do just like people living, in our society. We have people who are more evolved, more intelligent, with great intellectual ability, spiritual ability, and we have those who don't go anywhere. They're not evolving, but they're not digressing either, about regressing. They're stagnated. So they might come a next life, or even when they are physically dead and they're back to the spirit world, they might accomplish a little bit more growth and evolution. So always getting better. We are always evolving. We don't devolve. We're always going the step is forward. The road is forward, not backwards. We've been backwards already. Now we're progressing. We're going towards the light.
I agree. Amen to that, Admir. And in regards to amen, you being an ex-Catholic and now with a different religion, not too long ago you would be considered a heretic and possibly even a witch. Just by saying this stuff, writing this book could have had you burned in the flames. Why now? Why does the Catholic Church or the powers that be that rule over our society allow this to be propagated, this knowledge now?
I think it's evolution, and I know that I had at least two lives that I had, previous life as priest, at least two of them. And so I was very involved in the Catholic religion in other lives, and also in this one. I was an altar boy. I had this passion. I loved that Catholicism so much that as soon as I did my first communion, the first thing that I did in my small town was to be an altar boy. It was something that it was fascinating. I loved the church. I loved the hymns. I loved everything. It was something that it was incredible how when I began, because I was born in it. So the church at one time when I was until I was 12 or 13, it was something that I had this, it was something that I felt home there. But then I also moved away and started a different lifestyle. And so religion didn't play that big of a role. And then when it started, when you learn a little bit more, you have all those questions. And even reading the Bible, there's things that don't, it doesn't, today it's different from, understanding literally. There's a lot of things that are symbolic. So those symbolism, those things, I wanted really to understand in other, so that's why I searched. I studied philosophy in other religion. And then I found this one, the Spiritism, that I had pretty much everything, all the teachings of Jesus Christ, for instance, the Gospels and all that, plus some additional knowledge that it makes sense to me now much more than it made sense when I was more involved with Catholicism. But you're right. Yeah, if you were back then, I would be probably burning or burned already in the stake. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say in previous lives you were involved with the Catholic religion as a priest, and now you're in a different religion. I myself have memories of being a priest back in the Catholic Church, and then also a Druid priest in Europe and in Britain as well. And it's interesting now that I live the life of kind of a sinner in this life up until now, and I feel like I woke up to who I was and where I come from, and it's more easy for me now to go towards the light and to remember these teachings now that I'm studying them, as opposed to just maybe reading a Bible or having a preacher talk to me. I'm actually experiencing it. So
that's right.
Yeah, it seems like the church knows this, and eventually, do you think they've written the Old Testament you had with the Judaism in the Old Testament that is also called the Torah, was written in Hebrew, and then they have the New Testament of the Christian religion, and of course the Catholic Church and the various Christian denominations throughout the world. Do you think that there will be a new updated version, the New Testament, or the New Testament with science? Because it seems like they know this, all the stuff that you're saying in regards to ancient history, and then science. We're talking about essence, we're talking about energy, that they know this, and eventually that they'll incorporate this into their teachings, or do you think they'll always keep it concealed?
I think things will change, because who are the humans now? Who are the spirits that are here? It's most of it's us already returning. So we've been through this, like you mentioned, you've been a priest in a previous life, and you involved with Judaism back then, and I was also involved with being a priest in a couple of lives. Now we're in a different path. We're still in the spiritual path. We're still searching, but now we have more questions and things that we believed in when we were back then, when we were priests, and things that we taught, literally from what we read, because that was the knowledge that we had. We had a limited amount of knowledge. Today we have more knowledge. So today we're in this path when we we are influencing our children who are here now. And they will also live this life, and they will return. So they will return with new ideas. So eventually, and I truly believe that all this religion, especially fundamentalism, be it Islam, be it even Judaism, be it Catholicism, one day it's going to merge into something much greater than we have now that would make more sense. But for that to happen, all the old the old understanding, all that thing, all those people, unfortunately, they need to live the physical life in recycling through reincarnation until this new knowledge is ingrained in their spirit. When they return, then they change their thoughts. Things like just you and I happened to us. We don't take that anymore, what we learn in the Bible, that way. We still use Jesus' teachings, for instance, because it's good. It's love and forgiveness. All that is good, that is make us evolve. So we take that. But all those things that don't make much sense, we discard. It's no good for us anymore, because we are progressing. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I love that we're allowed to live in this time, even though there is a lot of darkness and evil out there. We could still live in the light and be happy and love one another. And I think that's always the lesson that we have to learn in order to evolve. And this knowledge helps us, of course, live right and then die right. What are some tips we could leave the audience with, Admir, that could help them on their path? What do you recommend they do to start finding themselves and to live right and die right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that we see in most of near-death experience at one point of their journey. It is the life review. So the life review is the person is there with the being of light and with his or her own consciousness, and in a brief moment they see in 3D all the memories, all everything, the way they're living their lives here on earth. And what most prominent, the things that draw their attention is the things that they're doing wrong. So, the mistakes that they're making, the hatred they're still nurturing, all those, the goodness that they should be doing that they're not doing, all those things that come very clear, very big in that screen that they call it. So then they have those experiences, and then they come and change to the better. So we don't need to have a near-death experience. So we do our life review right now, every day, every night, and we see what is it that we're doing, how we are living our lives, how much we're loving, and how much we should love, how much we're learning, we're studying, even intellectual progress, how much of that are we making, how are we treating our families, our friends, how are we benefiting our community, for instance. It's the how good, how positive we are influencing our own lives first, and then our life around us. So we do that life review, and we whatever we don't like, we change, and we do it better, because we can do better, and we are responsible for our own evolution. It is in our hands, and we can do it. We have that power, and you are an example.
What a way to end an awesome podcast, Admir. I love this conversation. I love talking to you about this, and I know the audience had learned a lot, and they're going to be really interested to find out more. Where can they find your book or find out more about your work?
My work, they could go to my website. It's www.admirserrano.com, and that's ADMIRSERRANO.com. And then there are links to buy the books, and the books, Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, and major bookstores in the United States. And also there's a link there that they can share the experience, and whatever contact they want to contact me, they're welcome. There's a contact tab there for them to click and just give me their thoughts.
Great. And to recap on that, his book is called The End of Death: How Near-Death Experiences Prove the Afterlife. And I will have links up to Admir's website and the book on GnosticWarrior.com. So if you want to visit there, you could also visit there. To the audience, again, I really enjoyed this podcast. I wish you the best in life and business, everything that you're doing, and of course the afterlife, Admir.
Thank you, Mo, and thank you, our audience. And it was lovely. It was a great pleasure to be here, joining you here today. And let's keep going. Life is beautiful. Life is magical, and we're never alone. So forward we go. It's the only way to go.
And forward we go. Take care, Admir.
Bye, Mo. Bye.
Bye.
For a great mobile website by expert web designers, visit WeCreateWebDesigns.com. Get your website now for only $79 at WeCreateWebDesigns.com.